The Democratic National Committee decided 2 months ago that they were going to vote to ban fossil fuel donations. They decided that they were no longer going to take fossil fuel donations, corporations, PACs, all that. The DNC voted 2 months ago, literally 2 months ago, to ban fossil fuel donations. Well, guess what? Guess what, folks? They've decided to reverse that ban 2 months later. I will read you. This just came out from the Huffington Post. Let me get it up here. Headline: Democratic National Committee proposes reversing its ban on fossil fuel donations. This isn't like a ban that went into place a year or two ago. This isn't like a ban that went into place in 2016. You're talking about a ban that went into place 2 months ago. I say that without irony. I mean, let me read you the article and then give you my thoughts. The Democratic National Committee plans to vote on a resolution Friday afternoon, so today, Friday afternoon, to reverse a ban on fossil fuel company donations just 2 months after adopting the prohibition in a unanimous vote, HuffPost has learned. Couched in language of embracing the contributions of fossil fuel workers, the proposal, introduced by DNC Chair Tom Perez, states that the party will accept donations from employers' political action committees. Quote, I am furious that the DNC would effectively undo a resolution passed just 2 months ago, just as the movement to ban fossil fuel corporate PAC money is growing, and Democrats are winning. That was R.L. Miller, a party activist who co-sponsored the original resolution, said. The DNC did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Of course they didn't. So basically, the DNC, probably because they're hurting for cash, because most people don't want to donate to the DNC because the DNC doesn't want to do anything for most working people. The DNC wants to send out fundraising emails. The DNC wants to send out constant emails about what Trump has tweeted or Russia has done, but they don't want to actually make sure every American has health care because that would not be so good for their pharmaceutical industry donors. They don't want to make sure that we save the planet because that would not be so good for their fossil fuel donors and their mother frackers that donate. They don't want to make sure that we actually regulate Wall Street and stop giving massive tax breaks and deregulation to Wall Street. Reminder, 16 Democrats just voted on that bill to help the Republicans deregulate the big banks a decade after the big banks crashed our global economy, which most of you are still feeling the remnants. What's so incredible to me is the fact that the Democratic National Committee, thank you, Exhausted 11, $3.99. The Democratic National Committee is literally trying to, push this blue wave. This blue wave is coming, and the Republicans are in trouble. And this is everything myself and Jimmy Dore and Mike Figueredo from the Humanist Report and Kyle from Secular Talk and Jamal Thomas and Lee Camp have said. It's not enough to be against President Trump. It's not enough to be against extreme conservatism. What are we going to put in place of these awful leaders? What are we going to put in place of the Trumps of the world, who, by the way, just deregulated the banks some more and gave another tax breaks to banks, which David Sirota did great reporting on. By the way, if you're watching, David, I sent you a message to get you on my podcast. Would love to have you on my podcast. So it's not enough. But the Democratic Party is trying what we call a shook and dive. So they're trying on one end to say, we are the resistance. We are going to take down Trump. We're going to take back Congress. But actually, in practice, what they're going to do, they're going to sound a lot nicer than Donald Trump. They're going to sound a lot more civil, and they're going to sound a lot more traditional than Donald Trump and the Republicans. They're going to talk a great game, but in reality, what they're actually going to do is keep the money flowing, give you a little crumbs of change around the edges that don't go farly enough. I mean, every expert on climate change has said we need to slow the warming of the planet by at least 2 degrees. The Democratic Party, they say we need to lower the warming of the planet by at least 2 degrees. Most people say it needs to go further than that. Yet the Democratic Party thinks it's all right to take money from big oil. The Democratic Party thinks it's all right to take money from private equity firms that are heavily invested in fracking. The Democratic Party thinks it's okay to take money from the very companies like Energy Transfer Partners, like Sunoco Logistics, like ExxonMobil, that are literally hiring, and I'm not exaggerating, are hiring private contractors like very, very similar to Blackwater to beat the living daylights out of environmental activists, indigenous people, and to trump up false charges on them that send indigenous women to prison. I'm talking about Red Fawn, and send other water protectors and environmental activists that are exercising their First Amendment rights against these oil companies that are destroying the planet. This is who the Democratic Party wants to take money from. So yeah, let's just sit here. Let's just all be quiet. Rah-rah Nancy Pelosi. Rah-rah Tom Perez. Rah-rah Dick Durbin. Rah-rah Steny Hoyer. Rah-rah Cory Booker. Rah-rah Kamala Harris. We need to take down Trump. Let's put you in place, and we'll just let the planet will burn. The planet will still burn, but no, we won't have as awful tweets sent out, and we won't have as awful, statements made by our president, and things won't be as heated because we won't have a dog whistler in office, and things won't be as awful because we'll get rid of Paul Ryan and the Republican Party. We'll retake the House. The language will be lovely. The language will be lovely. There won't be these awful tweets. You won't wake up every morning wondering if we've bombed another country or if we're about to nuke North Korea. But in practice, the planet's going to keep burning, and your kids are in danger. I don't have any kids, but if I do, they're in danger, and we are all in danger. We are all in danger. And as a reminder, if you're just coming to this video late, press the share button. Facebook is not sharing these videos. Facebook is not putting my channel into your stream. If you're on Facebook, by the way, watching, make sure you go like Status Coup. It's our company that we're launching soon, our media revolution. I'm going to be going live on Status Coup going forward when the company launches. So make sure you like Status Coup. Make sure you follow Status Coup. And make sure you follow Status Coup on Twitter. And when you like Status Coup on Facebook, make sure you press the follow button in addition to like. Press edit, and then click on notifications for live events and live videos. We need all of you, to make sure you are set for all notifications, because these social media networks are trying to make sure you don't see content like this in their streams. Thank you. So, I just want to like read you the latest, because as the Democratic Party, again, it's laughable. They couldn't even go longer than 2 months. 2 months since they implemented this ban on fossil fuel donations. Now they're reversing it. So that tells me 2 things. Number one, they're not getting the donations they need, because who is going to donate to the Democratic Party anymore? Certainly not millennials who are smarter than that. Certainly not older progressives who are smarter than that. Yeah, you'll get your donations from the same mega donors, hedge funders, pharmaceutical donors, bankers. But that's not enough anymore for the Democratic Party, because they're never going to get the small dollar donations just off of being being anti-Trump. So, well, to hell with the planet. We don't actually stand for anything. Give us your money, Big Oil. Give us your money. And it's not like Big Oil is now going to start flooding them with money again without asking for anything in return. So what are we going to do? We're all going to go we're all going to vote the Democrats back into the Congress. And guess what's going to happen? Nothing. They're not going to push banning fracking in America. They're not going to do anything of substance against these oil companies. They're still going to allow the oil companies to get subsidies and regulations. They're not going to do a damn thing about. The eco-terrorists are not the environmental activists. The eco-terrorists are not indigenous people at these protests. The eco-terrorists are not the ones down at Bayou Bridge protests in Louisiana trying to stop that pipeline. or all the other camps that have formed all over the country. The eco-terrorists are the oil companies that are literally beating the living daylight out of protesters who are literally exercising their First Amendment rights. So we're so deathly afraid of Russia and the Russian threat and Russian bots and Russian hacking and its effect on our democracy. But if big oil companies want to give us money, this is the DNC, well, you know, they can do whatever they want. If they want to hire private security firms to infiltrate camps where people are exercising their First American rights, as long as the check is big enough, do what you need to do. If they want to try and entrap water protectors, literally, water protectors, I got a message, water protectors were kayaking in Louisiana near the Bayou Bridge protest. And private security pretending to be police, private security pretending to be police, rounded them up. This is happening in Louisiana, and they were kayaking. Private security commissioned by Energy Transfer Partners. Energy Transfer Partners brought you the Dakota Access Pipeline, the Rover Pipeline in Ohio, Trans-Pecos Pipeline in Texas. I could go on and on. They're entrapping water protectors. But if these oil companies give Tom Perez and the DNC enough, if these fossil fuel companies give Tom Perez and the Democratic Party enough, we'll look the other way. But Jordan, we need to defeat Trump. You're propping up Trump, they say. Well, what's your suggestion? Should we just be blind to what they're doing? Should we just be blind to the fact that they're going to keep taking money from the very companies that not only are burning the planet, that not only are responsible for the... Do you have a heat wave where you're living in America right now? Do you notice that it's hotter every single summer? Do you notice that it's... I mean, I remember walking with my sister-in-law in February in New York City this year, in February, and it was 65 degrees. They are giving us a false choice, the Democratic Party. They are trying to say, if you're not anti-Trump, if you're not fire foaming at the mouth against Trump and the Republican Party, then you are part of the problem. And they want to point to folks like me and Jimmy and Lee Camp and Kyle Kulinski, Jill Stein or whatever. Look in the mirror. You are currently, the Democratic National Committee is doing the same exact thing Hillary Clinton did in 2016. You are pushing away the votes you need in order to take the checks you don't need. It's already been proven. If you have a message, Bernie Sanders was competitive against the biggest political dynasty machine possibly since the Kennedys. I'm talking about the Clinton machine, by having a message that represents people.